Hey guys, Mike here. So another big week ahead of us, and we got two really big events coming up this week, which I'll go in detail for, which will absolutely create a ton of volatility in the markets. We'll also go over a lot more earnings we have, more economic data, which actually is not that much this week, which is a good thing, so we'll go over that. Also, in order, if the weakness continues, we'll talk about the levels, right, to watch out for if it continues and what has to happen in order for that weakness to continue. So we'll hit some charts of certain stocks you have to watch out for when it comes to weakness. But I will start off with this because in yesterday's video I talked about Boeing, and then of course right after I put the video out, because you guys had asked about it, another incident happens. And then the other thing y'all are asking me too was, with as many bad instances that's happened, especially the news, how come this stock hadn't dropped more? How come it keeps bouncing back? I will show you exactly why that is. And so let's look into that real quick. And here's the incident I believe happened Saturday, where another Boeing 737 makes an emergency landing in Oregon after losing a panel in midair. They don't think it's the same panel that came off the other plane, but we'll just add it to the list of things going on. Now, why does Boeing maintain as well as it does? It's because it has a great moat. All right, out of large passenger airplane manufacturers, there's really two, Boeing and Airbus. And the other reason is because Boeing has a lot of government revenue, 37% from the US, another 3% from other governments around the world. So your tax dollars hard at work. So when you got a company who's basically backed 40% of his revenue is backed by the US government, who loves to spend, and it has a big moat because there's just not a lot of people that make what they make, that's why it always bounces back. That's why it maintains the way it does, right? Any other company, if this didn't have all the government revenue, I honestly believe it would be bankrupt. But that is its saving grace, is our tax dollars. So just to put that out there to you. And understand when you're looking at these charts real quick that the bottom line is we are in a weekly uptrend, right? A daily basically range, as I'm going to show you, and then an hourly downtrend. Okay, so keep that in mind as we go through these charts. And you can see what I'm talking about here. Here's your lower high, but there is no lower low yet. Okay, there's the low. We need to break that low. But when you look at this and everything, you're going, okay, that's a long time channel right there. That's a weekly deal. Okay, so weekly uptrend. Okay, and then what are we here? We're basically in this range for quite a while now, obviously, right here, right? So it's been in this range. Okay, you can draw that down even farther if you want to. And then, of course, this is the hourly chart. So let's pull up a channel. And on the hourly, it looks like it's starting to try to form what? A channel down, okay? Just a channel down, could be to the bottom of this channel that's in this up channel, right? And so we just got to see if that's going to come down and set a lower low. That's what we're looking for. Stock market don't go straight down unless there's some kind of crazy event. The big thing to look out for on this one, which would be perfect for bulls, if this to come down and retest after this crazy run, the old all-time high, right? And that's only like a 5% drop, which is, I mean, nothing really, right? We get a couple of those a year. And then to set up for mid to second half of the year. So that would be nice. And then we go to the NASDAQ 100, and you can see it's been in this channel for quite a while now, since November of last year. Finally closed out of that channel for the first time in quite a while. And watch this gap right here. Okay, that's only about another 2% down right there. That will be good to close. Also, if we try to go through and pull up the moving average and stuff, and that'd be decent support right there. But the one thing you would really love to see here is just to come down and touch the 50, right? And I'm just going to draw this out as more support. So a support area if it comes down right here. And so we close that gap, land right there. And when we pull up the moving average, you can see the 50 is pretty much right there. So that would be good confluence to have a nice little bounce. So will we end up getting more weakness? That's the bigger question. And again, that's not that far down. And so we'll see if the weakness is going to continue or not. When we pull up the RSI, you can see we're right at that 50 line. If we break below that, that's usually bearish for sure. MACD's, rolled over, of course, and been kind of trailing down. So momentum's been slowing as we've been coming up. And the S&P has actually been the stronger of the two, probably the last couple of weeks. Now, when you look at levels on the Qs, or you like to track the Qs instead of the NASDAQ 100, watch these levels right here. Before we continue, please hit that like button, guys. Helps people find this video. I really appreciate it. And if you like the content, think about subscribing. And those levels are going to be around 431 if that breaks, around 426, and then around 422. So just mark those down for yourselves. And when you come into IWM, this thing right here is much sold off, as much selling off as it's been getting. It has held that trend line. Closed above it Friday, and so we get the bounce again, which has gotten multiple times off that trend line right there, upward trend line. Or we finally continue to see the small caps really break down, start hitting around like 198.70, which would be that next support level. Or do we start going back up and challenging 210 again? This is another one. where is the momentum going to come from? You don't really have a lot of earnings anymore after this week coming out. And so, if SMCF stays in the range and Mr. stays in range or starts to sell back down, it's like, what's going to push this one up? It's going to be the big question, right? Now, in order for weakness to continue on the NASDAQ and even the S&P, you got to start seeing semiconductors roll over even more, right? And you got the stocks right here. It has held that trend line since November, bounced multiple times, as you can see, still above it. We'll see if that comes back down with more weakness this week and ends up, bouncing, or do we get the same thing that happened in October 2023 right there? It finally broke down, came back, retested, ended up showing more weakness, right? And we got that sell-off, and then ended up skyrocketing after that for the next leg up. So that's what we're going to get. That's what we got to find out. But in order for these indexes to sell off, the NVIDIA, AMDs, Taiwan Semiconductors, they got to show even more weakness for sure. And when you look at SMH, same thing. This is the Van X Semiconductor ETF. Now you can draw this trend line up here and say, it's failed one time, but besides that, it's bounced multiple times. It hadn't hit again yet. So we'll see if this right here comes down, tests it, gets another bounce like the rest of them. You can see the RSI divergence has been going on for quite a long time, but it doesn't seem to affect anything. So, we'll see if semiconductors finally start. And when I say weakness, it's basically just profit taking, right? I mean, these things are so far up there, and people are just up hundreds and hundreds of percent. That's really the big thing you're looking at here. They just keep profit taking. But again, the dip buyers have been super, super strong. So let's see if we hit the trend lines on both of those ETFs. That would mean the semiconductors stocks have rolled over even more, okay? Now, Google, this has been a strong one here whenever that's been selling off, right? This is one of those three. And you can see long-term channel up, short-term channel down, got that bounce off that long-term trend line right there. And you see it come up. We talked about that level right there, like 143, and bam, that's where it got rejected at. But we'll see if it's going to come back down, bounce, and then get back going up. Because this is one of those things. This is one of those stocks that has to be weak because it accounts for 10% of the NASDAQ 100. And if not, because there's two Class A, Class B shares, and if not, it continues to go up, it's going to be real hard for the NASDAQ 100 and the S&P in general to show more weakness. So keep an eye on that one. Microsoft is another one. This is, there's multiple ways to look at Microsoft. One, it obviously broke out of here, but look at this. So you got this long-term channel up right here, which is not broken. And then you look at the consolidation phase right here, and this channel right here, just consolidated for weeks, right? And then finally broke out, false breakout, comes back down within. But for this one to sell down, it's going to have to break that trend line. It hadn't broken in months. And then break the other channel down, which has been consolidating in, building support out in since January. And so, that's going to be an interest for Microsoft. And not to mention, it's Microsoft, right? And so this is not one of those companies that reports bad earnings. It shows growth. It shows AI potential, all this stuff, right? So that's another one to watch this week. It was strong along with Google last week when everything was selling off. Tesla obviously been a hot mess. We know we got this divergence, though, the bullish divergence on the RSI. We'll see if this starts to round up. That trend line's been coming down for months now that it finally broke down from. That is going to be resistance now, okay? Again, if this one breaks up, you got to be looking for 169 and then 175. Obviously, it breaks down. You're looking between 160, then 152, then 144. Okay, so just kind of keep those levels in mind. Again, this one needs a break, really. You need to start this one needs more traders to come in and start buying those call sweeps. That's what this needs, or Elon to come out and do something. That's exactly what this needs, because right now, the sales numbers and everything else is not really doing it or getting this thing pumped up. Now, just an extra one here, PayPal. Watch the level 64.30 right in there somewhere to break. If that breaks and they move above this, then you can finally start heading up towards that gap right there. And again, I'm going to put this trend line so we'll spot this, but there's no secret of why 64.20 is a big level for this one, okay? It's been rejecting the past. It's been supporting the past, and so it needs to get above that. And it's really a range, right? It's not just the lines. It's really this range. If it can get above that right there and show some power, finally, maybe it'll end up going up towards that August gap, which we've been talking about. It seems like forever, right? Because it's above all your moving averages right now. It's above the 200. The 50 is curling up. The 100 is curling up. The 200 is trying to curl up. So we'll see. And Square has also been on a nice little run as well. The sector to watch, definitely, again, is energy. This has been on a tear right now. It's coming up to a crucial resistance area. And it is an area, right around 92 right there. But when we start to pull back, I'm going to draw this over right here, and you'll see what I'm talking about when I say area and why this is a crucial one right here. Because when we scroll back, I mean, many times now, look at that. this thing has been resistance. It has not been able to break above it. And so that's why you want to sit here and watch this area right here. Over the last couple of years, it has been a problem for this one. And you see oil stocks have been up, right? Which, of course, if oil is going up and gas is going up, that's usually not good for what? Inflation, things of that nature. Now, earnings. Nothing really big on Monday. XPeng's another EV stock. Obviously, they've been getting crushed on Tuesday, their report. Come over to Wednesday, you'll have PDD, which is a Chinese stock, but it's based out of like Ireland or something like that. General Mills, some retailers like Ollie's, things like that. Micron will be the big one for semiconductors, right? Because it'll drag them up if it does well. If not, and that Micron's been on a tear. Chewy, KB Homes, Five and Below, Guess, Intuitive, that's going to be a big one right there. Accenture. Darden Restaurants is going to be a big one. We'll see if they're still raising prices, right? Are they able to pass it on the consumer? Nike is going to be a big one. It's going to tell us a lot about China, Lululemon, FedEx, which has been on a tear. And then when it comes to the economic data, again, don't have nothing going on Monday. Tuesday, you have a bond auction. That's about it, right? I mean, there's just nothing happening here to derail anything in the market, to cause any kind of volatility. Then you go to Wednesday. There it is, FOMC, right? 2 o'clock. We know they're not going to raise rates. It's all about June, though, right? What's he going to be saying? So a lot of volatility on that day. Thursday, you have your jobless claims, a lot of manufacturing data. We'll see, PMI flash. We'll see if this affects the market all right here. It'll come pre-market, okay? So just keep that in mind. Friday, nothing going on. And then I did want to say just real quick, on April 12th, that's when you're going to hear from the Bank of Japan on their rate decision. The reason why this is a big deal is because they've always suppressed their rates. Japan's people take their money, they put it in the American stock market and other countries and real estate and things of that nature. And so, if they start really messing with their interest rates over there, that could absolutely affect our market over here. And so I just want to put that on your radar because, when they were talking about this, only it was 2023 and even 2022, anytime it comes up, it tends to create uncertainty in the markets. And what do the markets hate more than anything? Uncertainty. Okay. And so it's the reason why I'm throwing this on your radar now. So we got, 3-4 weeks to look out for it and stuff, but we'll see what their decisions are going to be. You think eventually that it's going to change and stuff, and we'll see how the market reacts to it. And so it's coming at an interesting time in April, but we'll see what happens. Another thing to look out for, obviously, is now do you have earnings, coming to an end and stuff. That's another catalyst has been pushing these stocks up 20%, down 20%. So that's something that's going away as well. And then we'll be past FOMC this week. Not a lot of economic data to really make the market react besides those two main events. So it's going to be really interesting to see if the weakness does continue or the dip buyers step in, especially on NVIDIA. Let me know if you're one of those dip buyers, because last week, every time it hit weakness, it just kept bouncing. People kept stepping in, right? And so, and really, the market's not going to go down too much if semiconductors aren't going down. If the major stocks like your Googles and Microsoft and stuff aren't going down, it's going to be really tough for it to make any major move down. So, and then again, if you're a bull, you want it to come down. Test that 50 be perfect, right, for the next leg up, that kind of stuff. And if you're a person been waiting on a dip to buy certain stocks, you want it too. But, we'll see what happens. So please hit that like and subscribe button on your way out. Really appreciate it. Let me know your predictions for this week in the comments, and I'll see you guys tomorrow.